The Swatches panel is the central headquarters for all things color in your document, and as we saw in an earlier movie, the Swatches panel lets you apply fill or stroke color to any object or text on your page. But what if you get tired of the colors listed here? What if you want something more? Well, let's see how you can create your own new color swatches for your documents. The basic technique for creating a new color swatch is to go to the Swatches panel flyout menu and choose New Color Swatch. This brings up the New Color Swatch dialog box, and we can choose a process color or a spot color. Process colors are always defined with cyan, magenta, yellow, and black inks, but a spot color could be defined with any ink that your printer can mix up for you, including the Pantone colors. If I want a color from the Pantone swatch books, I can pull it out of the Color Mode pop-up menu here. For example, I'll grab one of these Pantone solid-coated swatches, and you'll see that it quickly opens up the library and lists all those colors for me. If there's a particular color I'm looking for, perhaps Pantone 286, I can simply type it in here, 286, and it jumps right to that Pantone color. Now I can click the Add button to add it to my Swatches panel, or click OK to add it to the Swatches panel and close the dialog box. In this case, I'm just going to add it because I want to create another color. This time I'm going to create a CMYK process color, so I'll switch the color mode back to CMYK, and I'll change the color type back to process, and I'll dial in some other color that I want. Of course, I could just pull these sliders around until I get a color that looks pretty good on screen, but if I really care about the color, I'm probably going to dial it in directly. Let's say 30% cyan, hit tab, 20% magenta, and 0% black. Now this is not Pantone 286, so it really should change that name automatically for me, but I can change it if I turn on the Name with Color Value checkbox. Turn that on, and the values actually appear there. Turn it off, and I can actually name it anything I want. Doesn't really matter what you're going to call it, it's still going to come out with the same CMYK process colors. I'll go ahead and click OK, and now you can see that both of those colors show up here in the Swatches panel, right at the bottom. I'll go ahead and apply one of those to this color. That looks a little bit strange to me, so why don't we go ahead and edit it. To edit a color, you could double-click on it, but that'll also apply it to whatever's selected on your page. Another option is to right-click and then choose Swatch Options. Right-click, or if you have a one-button mouse on a Mac, you can Control-click on it, bring up the context menu, and choose Swatch Options. This is the identical dialog box with one difference. This has a preview checkbox. So once it's open, I can go ahead and change my values here. For example, I'll bump this up and make this a little bit darker. Why don't I change the name of this to something else, because that's certainly not Periwinkle anymore. Click OK, and it updates immediately in the Swatches panel for me to use some other time. Now that I've created some swatches in my document, what if I want to add those to a new document? I can copy swatches from one document to another in two ways. One is to simply apply them to a couple objects. I just duplicated that by Option dragging or Alt dragging on Windows, and I'll apply my Pantone color to this. So I'm going to select this object and copy them to the clipboard. Now I'll create a new document by pressing Command-N or Control-N on Windows, and I'll hit Enter for those default values. This is just going to create a brand new untitled document, and then we can see in the Swatches panel those colors are not here, but they will be as soon as I paste. Command-V or Control-V on Windows adds those objects and the colors that were attached to them. Now I can go ahead and hit Delete to delete those objects, but the colors remain. There's one other way to move your swatch colors from one document to another, and that is by loading and saving them from the Swatches panel flyout menu. We can choose Load Swatches and bring them in from another document or an ASC file, or I could actually select these in the Swatches panel and then say Save those swatches to an ASC file. An ASC file is Adobe Swatch Exchange, and this ASC file can be brought into Illustrator or Photoshop or any other InDesign document. Now there is another way to spec your own colors in InDesign, and that's the Colors panel. In the next movie I'll show you how to do that and why you might not want to. Some people like speccing their colors in the Swatches panel far ahead of ever applying them in the document. Others like working more interactively, playing with colors as they lay out a page. You can work either way in InDesign, of course, but if you're in the play-as-you-go corner, you'll probably like the Colors panel. The first thing you need to know about the Colors panel is that there are several different modes built in here. If I choose an object that has a swatch applied to it, I get a tint ramp automatically down here at the bottom, and I can actually click anywhere on here and it applies a tint to it. This is the same thing as choosing a tint from the Swatches panel. I'll go back to the Colors panel now and show you the other modes. You can choose from the flyout menu, Lab, CMYK, or RGB, and I'll choose CMYK here, and you can see that I can apply any color I want. For example, why don't I bump up the magenta a little bit, maybe bump up the yellow a little bit, and get a totally different color. I could also click down here in the color bar, the CMYK color bar, and I'll just click, click, click until I find a color that I like. Now you need to be careful when choosing colors from the screen like this, because unless you've done a lot of work to set up your color management environment, the colors you see on screen may not match what you see in print at all. Believe me, I've been burned by that one myself. So it's much better to pick your colors from a printed swatch book, such as the TrueMatch books or the Pantone books. And then when you have a CMYK value, you can actually just dial it in here. For example, 0, and I'll hit Tab, and I can type 20, 50, whatever the value is in a swatch book. Then when I hit Enter, it applies to the object. Unfortunately, there are two other problems with using the color panel, even if you're typing in colors from a swatch book. First, it's difficult for someone else looking at your document to tell what colors you've used. Is this an RGB color? Is this a CMYK color? Because they're going to be looking in your swatches panel. And you see that color does not appear in my swatches panel. Why? It's because it's called an unnamed color. Whenever you add a color interactively like that in the colors panel, it becomes an unnamed color. The second problem with using these unnamed colors is that it's very hard to use it consistently throughout your publication. You might pick this color for this object and then later on pick a different color for this object. Maybe I'll grab a color that looks similar to it, but is it the same? It's very hard to get the same color throughout your whole document. So what do? Let me undo that with Command-Z or Control-Z on Windows. If I'm going to use this color in my document, it really behooves me to select it so it shows up in the color panel, and then choose Add to Swatches. It's a really, really good idea to choose Add to Swatches, and that will add it right up on my Swatches panel. You see, now there it is at the bottom of my Swatches panel. There's another way to add your unnamed swatches to the Swatches panel, by the way, and that is to choose it from the Swatches panel flyout menu. You can choose Add Unnamed Colors, and this will go through your entire document and find all the unnamed colors and add them to the Swatches panel. Watch this. Oh, look, there they are. There's two other colors that whoever created this document must have defined those colors using unnamed colors, but now they show up in my swatches palette, so I can see they're actually CMYK colors, not spot colors, and so that's okay. If you like in the color panel, then there is one other method of choosing colors that you should know about, and that's the color picker. I'm going to pick this background color here, and I'm going to double-click on this little tiny icon, the fill icon in the Tools panel. And when you do that, the color picker appears. Now I have to say right off that I do not like the color picker. This is not my friend, but some people seem to like it. If you're going to use the color picker, there's one main thing that you need to pay attention to more than anything else, and that is which of these fields you have selected. For example, if you click in any of the CMYK fields, then you're going to be adding CMYK swatches. If you click in the RGB fields, then you're going to be adding an RGB swatch. So be very careful to always click in CMYK if you want a CMYK swatch. Then you can pick out your color from within this color picker. It's an RGB color space view, but it's being translated into CMYK somehow. I don't trust it. I really don't like using this, but if you do, you could then click Add CMYK Swatch, and it will automatically add the swatch to your swatches panel behind here. You can, if I move this over, you can see that it got added here. Again, don't trust what you see on screen unless you're really sure you're in a color managed environment, and then I can click OK, and it will apply that to this object. You know, personally, I'm in the camp that believes you should set it all up in the swatches panel first, but, you know, if these tools work for you, then great. It's easy to change a solid color fill or stroke to a tint in the swatches panel or the colors panel. For example, I could open the swatch panel here, and I apply red color to this object. Now I can change its tint right up here. Why don't I change it to, let's say, 25%? But if you know you're going to use a 25% tint 100 times in your document, wouldn't it be easier if you could just create a single swatch that was already at 25%? Sure. Well, here's how you do it. First, pick a color in the swatches panel that you base the tint on. Second, go up to the flyout menu and choose New Tint Swatch. The New Tint Swatch dialog box picks up the color that you picked in the swatches panel, and then you can apply the tint to it. Here, because I had already applied a 25% tint, it just pulled it in here for me. I'll go ahead and click Add to add that to my swatches panel, then why don't I make another one, maybe a 50% tint. Now I've got two tint swatches based on that same red color. By the way, a lot of people don't realize you can select more than one swatch in the swatches panel. I just shift-clicked on that other one, and now I can drag those up to be next to the original red one. That's right, you can drag swatches around to group them in the swatches panel the way you want them to be. So I've got the solid red here, then I've got a 25% tint of it, and a 50% tint of it. And now I can just apply those to whatever I want to apply them to. Even better, if I later need to change the definition of this red, let's say I'll change this to some other color, maybe a little bit more, whatever that color is, click OK, you can see that all the tints automatically update as well. Sure, it takes a little bit of time to set up your tint swatches at first, but you can save so much more time later that it's really, really worth it. Gradients, blends, vignettes, whatever you want to call them, they can be beautiful or they can make life a study in frustration. I'm going to show you the right way to make them in the swatches panel first, and then in the next movie, talk about how to apply and customize them. To make a gradient swatch, I open the swatches panel, and I'm going to select an object on my page and choose New Gradient Swatch from the swatches panel flyout menu. Now in this case, all I'm going to do is click OK. And it applies that gradient to that object. The reason I like doing it this way is because now I'm going to double-click on my swatch to open it again, and I'm going to now define my swatch, but with the benefit of a preview checkbox. You don't get the preview checkbox otherwise. First I'll name it. You can call it anything you want. My happy little gradient. Next you have to decide whether it's going to be a linear gradient, from white to black, or a radial gradient. The radial is like a circular gradient. If you don't like the fact that the circle is right in the middle, you can change that, and I'll show you how to do that in the next movie. But for right now, we're going to stick with a linear blend here. To control the colors in the linear blend, you have to use the gradient ramp. Here's how this works. Click on one of the gradient ramp stops, and you can see that this white is defined by this process color. Let's click on this gradient stop, and you can see that this stop is defined by this black swatch. You can define a gradient swatch with one of the swatches, RGB, CMYK, Lab, whatever you want. If you're going to be using a gradient with a spot color, then first you make the spot color in the swatches panel, and you can choose that from the swatches panel flyout menu. You could add a Pantone spot color to your gradient too. First you would define that Pantone color in the swatches panel, then you would pull it out of your swatches list. In this case, I'm simply going to blend from, let's say, magenta to cyan. So I'll pick two swatches, and here we can see what's going on in the background. If I choose to, I could add an additional gradient ramp stop down here by clicking underneath the gradient ramp. If I choose to, I could add an additional gradient ramp stop to the blend here by clicking underneath this ramp. Now I've got an additional gradient ramp stop, and I can change it to any color I want. Let's pick maybe a yellow color in here, kind of an ochre color. Now what are these little diamond shapes? The diamond shapes are the midpoint slider, so I can actually change the slider to control the gradient very finely. Notice how the sliders move when I move the stops, and I can change the midpoint sliders independently. I have a lot of control to fine-tune this gradient. Finally, I'll go ahead and click OK, and we can see that it shows up down here at the bottom of my swatches panel. If I later need to change that, no problem. Just double-click on it, or right-click in this case. I'll right-click or control-click with a one-button mouse, and I will choose Swatch Options, and then I can choose any of these gradient stops I want. Why don't I make this one yellow instead? By the way, when I go back there, I'll double-click on that and go back there. You may have noticed that there's no way to set a gradient's opacity. For example, I can't fade this from magenta to transparent. If you need that kind of effect, take a look at the movie in an earlier chapter about the feathering transparency effects. That'll do it for you.